What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Two Worlds 1, another game that I liked as a boy, but unlike Borderlands 1, there isn't really any staying power here, so like my Baldur's Gate 1 review, I'll save you some time and give you a brief summary. Is it good? No. Is the story interesting? No. Are the graphics at least decent for the time? I'll get to that. Is it worth your time in 2024? Not unless you're into niche, janky RPGs with a few fun systems. If that isn't you, don't waste your time. So here's the rest for everyone who's got my voice playing in the background. Two Worlds 1, the competition to oblivion. The hype surrounding this game before it released even managed to wrap me up as a 9-year-old boy. You just had to be there in the period before buying digital copies became the norm. Oblivion on steroids! It's a tough thing to set yourself up for competition with one of Bethesda's flagship cash cows, but this game came out swinging. Unfortunately, it came out swinging like a 95-year-old Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul. Oblivion on steroids. This game feels more like Oblivion on fentanyl, and it nodded off and it shit its own pants. But there are a few things here which aren't terrible. Some of the mechanics and systems here I really enjoy and do appeal to me. The weapon and armor upgrading system where you combine the same type of armor into each other to enhance it and making it stronger feel really fun to me, and you get really excited when you find the next piece of armor that you need to put into your stuff.
I'm gonna come.
I like that the alchemy is fairly easy to understand and you can get lots of power and permanent buffs from it. I like that you get skill points for killing enemies and lockpicking a certain amount of chests. I also like that the lockpicking isn't some retarded little minigame, as I'm sure these guys would have just fucked that up as well. So the opening sequence lets you know that somebody kidnapped your hot sister.
The taint.
And you need to meet them in Hicksville so you can put in the work to get her back. The local villagers sent me off to deal with the harvest season boogeymen, and you quickly realise the combat is so uninspired that it's not funny. But if they want me to compare it to Oblivion, I will. And I'd say it's about as good as Oblivion, to be honest. And that's not even a good thing. This game is a good example of how not to do third-person combat, that's for sure. I mean, games like God of War already existed at the time. I can't believe a bunch of dudes looked at this and just said, you know what, that's fucking great. Let's go with the fucking flailing your arms around like a fuckhead with no accuracy or tactics. That's the one we're gonna go with.
Are you that bounty hunter? Not many of you left in Talmont, eh?
Aye. Look upon a rarity while you can, for I shall be gone soon.
The village elder will be here directly.
As you can see by the first interaction, the voice acting here is less than good, but it's so bad in some spots that I can't help but find it fucking hilarious. I mean, some of the accents are downright racist in later portions of the game, and the flat delivery of the main character cracks me up at times, in a good way.
'Tis you more pack
How did you know?
intuition, and 3 years in the Drakkar monastery of the Shaven-Back monks.
I have never heard of them. What are their powers?
Shaven Backs.
Strange indeed. So, you will do this?
You come back and talk to Gandahar, who is a pretty cool looking villain considering what we're working with here. Also, quickly, I really like some of the designs of the weapons and armor in this game, and I think they were going in the right direction. I mean, Neverwinter Nights was a pretty big success, right, and some of the armor of this game is reminiscent of that. And I think they nearly had something here, which is a recurring theme with this game.
I am only a messenger.
We talk to Gandahar, and he tells us our sister is in the Goat Cave. Yep, the Goat Cave. Which somehow, my nameless protagonist knows exactly where the Goat Cave is, even though he's only been in town for 35 seconds. So we go to the Goat Cave and meet Gandahar's boss, Rice, who tells us we need to collect the MacGuffins to bring the orc god Aziraal back, or he'll kill my hot sister. And it turns out Gandahar is trying to double-cross this guy, which means nothing to me as my sister's still a hostage, so he's still a bad guy. And I get sent to talk to Gandahar's Ho, which is just some guy's name. He's just called Ho for some reason. It's a strange choice. Before I speed through the rest, I'll do most of my whining about the major problems with the game here. Let's pick apart the combat some more. It's just a quantity, not quality approach. as I don't think I've fought an enemy one-on-one this entire game except the final boss. It's stupid. The second you walk out into the world, it's 20 bandits, or 20 boars, or 20 fucking bug guys, and I'm sure they did it because you need the XP. I'm sure the game becomes a grind past level 50, but it quickly makes you realise how flawed the combat really is. Bows and single target spells are fucking useless unless you juice the shit out of them, and I didn't use sneak one time. Apparently there's sneak attacks. Yeah, right, like I'm gonna stealth attack 20 orcs in a row. The combat sound effects are shit as well, and even later in the game with what I believe is alright gear and weapons, some enemies one-shot you and they are in a pack of 20, so you just do this stupid little circle around fighting style until you get a chance to flail your arms around and do some damage before you get some spells. There was nearly something here. They nearly had something. They were so close but so far. This game feels like the middle child of Gothic and Kingdoms of Amalur. It's like a proto Kingdoms of Amalur that just can't find its rhythm because it's so janky. The enemy variety is okay and does consist of some pretty weird and interesting creatures and fantasy beasts, which I appreciate, but I was pretty content with the variety of enemies, just not the pack sizes or the random one-shots. But overall I'd say it's got better variety than some much more popular games. The graphics are honestly so-so. This game was released the same year as a lot of other huge titles like Left 4 Dead 2, Dragon Age Origins, Skate 2, Borderlands 1, which I've reviewed, check it out, and that's just some of them. How does this game compare? It doesn't. It runs like shit, the frame rate is all kinds of fucked up for no reason, your actual character animation running looks like shit. I mean, come on, you expect us to look at some guy jerking and jittering around everywhere for 50 hours. Everyone looks like a human orangutan with long arms and short legs. Some of the environments are okay, the desert was alright, but it's hard to screw up a desert, and the burning forest was cool as well, but for some reason in every cave or dungeon they add this random woman screaming and crying audio in the background, and that's honestly such a stupid choice. Just let it be quiet and let the ambience put me on edge. You don't have to pull cheap tricks to add atmosphere. And that's what most of this game is, cheap tricks. It can render a fair amount of NPCs at one time, which I was pretty surprised about, considering in Oblivion there's just 3 guys and 2 guards in the Imperial City at all times. But for the time, I don't think they're terrible, I think the graphics are mediocre, it just runs bad. It's your typical laughably simple find the treasure plot, but that's not a big issue for me in a game. As long as the rest of it is solid, which it isn't in this game, the rest of it is half-baked and not fleshed out, and the game doesn't even work properly on modern systems. 2 of the most important cutscenes in the game don't even play, and it's a known issue that they haven't fixed. And it completely ruined my experience. I'm sure it ruined the other 3 guys who've played this game in the last half a decade's experience as well. And I can guarantee you it's just an issue with a format or codec in the video files, and they just haven't put the effort in to fix it. So I hope this reaches a wider audience so they know it's just pure laziness on their behalf. I'm not even going to address the cutscenes because they weren't in my game. And the music is nothing to write home about. I couldn't access all the tracks because I needed some legacy software to look it up. But the tracks I heard while I was playing the game were pretty decent, except the title screen music is really strange. And there was one good track in the desert. Now, where was I? Yep, getting the MacGuffins for the guy. So I get to exploring and tracking down an orc named Whitehead, who talk good for orc, who's at the King's Tomb, which is supposedly hidden even though it's the biggest building for miles around, and it's covered in zombies. We find a secret entrance and cut down a horde of orcs and skeletons and grab piece number 1. 3 more to go. A quick swim to Little Kyoto, which is my favourite city in the game artistically, and I really wish the whole game was just a Japanese-styled RPG with better writing, even if the accents were still hilarious, because Japantown is the best-looking city in the game, and I think this is the best piece of design in the whole thing. And the samurais look cool as hell, and all the accents are hilarious, and what happens? I go into a dungeon full of snake men, grab piece number 2, come back out, and orcs have killed everyone here. The whole city was here for nothing because all of the traders and all of the citizens are dead within the first 5 minutes of me being here. Great Two Worlds, you fucked up the only bit of the game that was actually enjoyable. It's your usual get the one ring style collectathon to drop it in the lava for the rest of the game. If you loot all the swords of the dead people in Little Kyoto, you can get a pretty decent sword that will carry you through pretty much the rest of the game. From there I jumped on a horse and trotted my way down to Gorgamar to get the third piece of the relic, which involved me cutting down 10,000 urukai. I think there is actually a more interesting way to do this by doing some quest and summoning an army of undead, which sounds fun, but finding any information about the game is surprisingly difficult. The internet footprint of this game feels like a weird fever dream, so I'm just going to let you guys know a few little tips in a minute that I figured out to get overpowered fast, if you want to play the game. After we got the third piece, it's on to the fourth piece, which isn't far from the Orc City. It's a short scenic stroll through the burning forest full of demon orcs. It was supposed to be guarded by a dragon, but I just walked up and grabbed it because there was no dragon in sight. So I had to go back through the dragon's lair to the front entrance so I could fight the dragon. Now on to the penultimate piece of our Jankfest treasure hunt, the frame, which is back near the starting area, and I pulled another little sneaky here. You're supposed to do some busy work to get the trust of these guys, so they'll let you into their little medieval boys club, but instead I just hardcore parkoured over the fence and murdered every man and Wait, there's no women here. See, like I said, it's a boys club, and if there's one thing I hate, it's a sausage fest. So I took pleasure in this, and I skipped a whole bunch more bullshit by doing it. So I grabbed the frame, and it's time to go see Gandahar for the epic showdown with Reist to get Kira back. I take the relic to Gandahar, so ready for the epic payoff and to see my hot sister.
Boy, I've been waiting for this. What's up, Mitch?
And the fucking cutscene doesn't work, so I jump skip to some guy in a white robe telling me that I freed a god. Did I? I wouldn't know anything about it, because I didn't see it. So this guy tells me Gandahar is the real villain. Wow, big surprise, the guy with no face is the true evil mastermind. So I head off to a tower to disrupt Gandahar's evil pentagram ritual, which is pretty cool to be honest, and then head to Gandahar's evil castle for the real final showdown. At the front gate, Reist turns into a giant demon, which I also liked, and he was a pretty tough fight. I poison him to death and run circles around him, and then I face off with Gandahar, who was actually a bit of a pushover here, and here comes the final cutscene to top the game off and explain what really Oh wait, no. This one doesn't work either, so it just skips me straight back to the main title screen with no satisfaction at all.
What's that?
Thanks guys. I absolutely love the alchemy system. The permanent buffs are fucking awesome, and I wish they would put more stuff like this in Western RPGs. I love breaking a game that wants to be broken. There's just something so fun about it. And you find so many ingredients just adventuring, it's implemented perfectly. I'll give you guys a sneaky little tip with the alchemy. As you go through the game, you find graveyards, and there's these taint shoots in them. Pick all those bad boys up as you go along, and just before it gets to night in the game, drop all of these taint roots on the ground in a graveyard, and a bunch of enemies will spawn. There is tooltips for this in loading screens, but no one actually tells you how to do this, which is weird. Once you kill 10 ghouls, take all their brains, cook 10 of those little suckers up, and you've got yourself an 18-point permanent wisdom potion. That's 3 levels worth of skill points in one potion. And after you drink enough of these potions, you can go and respec with a trainer and allocate all these skill points wherever you want, like into dexterity if you're a little girl who uses a bow. The magic system with the cards is also great. You get these cards that have spells, and then you can add on to them with different booster cards, and the more of them you stack, the more powerful your spell becomes. I don't know the upper limits of damage here, but I do know that the missile spells are ass, and there are only a couple of really good spells, and the best spell is a necromancer spell called Poison Cloud, that once you stack it enough, can kill almost anything in the game with 10 to 12 casts, so you can just sit back and watch them die. Poison Cloud also mini-stuns every enemy in the game, making closing the gap on ranged enemies with your sword so much easier. It's just an amazing spell. So here's my next little tip. You get teleport pads early in the game that let you drop your own waypoint down, which is a great idea. So you drop one of these spell pads down at a mage shop, and the other at a different mage shop, and you teleport in between these two shops. Every time you go back and forth from these shops, their inventories refresh with new spell cards. It's boring, but it's the quickest way to get yourself some pretty good spells. I also like the equipment upgrading is really cool, and I'd like to see more games adopt something like this and all the rest of the things I've just talked about. The entire leveling system in this game is actually one of my favourite in any RPG I've ever played, but there's just too much half-baked crap, terrible voice acting, and crappy performance here for me to give it a better score. I was going to give it a 4 out of 10, because there's some stuff I really love here, but I just couldn't recommend this game to anyone unless they have no social life and all the free time in the world like I do. But guess what? The fucking cutscenes bullshit has brought this game down to a 3 out of 10. Fix the cutscenes.